Thank you for listening to Comics for Fun and Profit. This is episode 462 with Drew solo. So, for what it's worth, I hear the sounds of lots of little listening devices clicking off. Oh no, it's just Drew. We can't have that. Anywho, let's head right into a jam-packed show. We've got some feedback and some questions. First and foremost, some of you were having trouble with downloading last week's episode. I heard from a variety of people, 2 or 3 that were having issues with their podcatcher device. I don't know what that was. I ended up re-uploading it so you could download it. It was a long episode. It was a 2-hour episode. I think those may have given us trouble in the past. So maybe what I'm going to do in the future is when we get up into the 2-hour range, I may do an episode A, episode B, and split that up. I don't know if it continues to be an issue with our media server or with communicating with iTunes or however you subscribe. Something happened with a small percentage of you, or only the small percentage that actually yelled at me about it. So if a lot of you had problems with it last week and it was glitchy, let me know so I can look into it a little more. If it was just isolated to a few of you, we'll do our due diligence and see if it happens again, and hopefully it will not. So quick apology out of the way. Eric Donnelly says, for ASM 801, I had a discussion with a friend looking through collecting via the long game. Do you feel that ASM 801 has legs to be a sleeper for eventually accruing value relative to other modern titles that have come out around this era? We both took a look at it and just had a hunch. Given the pomp of 800, we just felt 801 has a chance to be overlooked. With so few milestones in the modern era, with relaunches and the lack of tentpole characters, Slot finishing a 10-year run is a big deal. Cover art also grew on us, and it wasn't just flashy, but had a definite classic Marvel look to it. Also, it being a normal price point makes it even less flashy as a spec book. I was just curious as to your thoughts on this as collectors 10, 20 years from now and not just flipping immediately. Thanks, and great show. It's a good question, Eric. I have not seen that comic in question, so I want to check that out. I'm a little behind in my reading, so stuff has been stacking up. But I think you're right. I mean, 800 was 441. We'll get to that a little later in the numbers, but 441,000. Don't think 801's going to be anywhere near what the sales of 800 were. So there's definitely going to be some built-in scarcity. It does celebrate an end of an era. I mean, I was really fond of the last Bendis, Jessica Jones, the last Bendis, Iron Man, the last Bendis, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. So I thought those were all great endings and something to collect, and something to collect long term and seek out. So I think you're onto something. Definitely something to keep for the long haul, not a quick flip. And 10 years from now, we'd say, oh, the 801. Yes, that was the last Dan Slott. He did a 10-year run before going over to Iron Man, and what a great run it was. And here's the culmination of that. I think you're definitely onto something, and I agree. It'll be overlooked, and it for all the reasons you said, should be something to stash away, and easy to do so. It's not a $10 book or a 1 in 1,000. It's something that any of us can pick up, which I think is cool. So thank you, Eric Donnelly. Jason Kim from Hawaii is also always helping me out. He said, I know you're flying solo again this week. Here's my pick for the coming Wednesday. It's Venom number 3. I heard Donny Cates had a 10-year story plan for this character. I was in for the ride. He and I believe he may introduce new characters in this early story arc that may have potential spec value in the future. Jason. Hey, good call, Jason. I think you're right. We're going to get a Cosmic Ghost Rider right out of the gate. If we do, we need to be ready to go and on the ground floor, because he could be laying breadcrumbs now that he'll be following if he gets to do that 10-year run that he wants to do. We'll see. He didn't get to stay very long on Doctor Strange or Thanos, so he may have a 10-year plan, but Marvel may have a 10-month plan, So hopefully Donny Cates starts getting the respect over there that we think he deserves, because he's a heck of a writer and we really enjoyed some of his stuff. So I think you're spot on that. That's good stuff. And after I don't know why they delayed him, but previews, Diamond people usually the second Friday of the month put out the top 10, and then follow that the following Friday by the full numbers. So this is all backed up a week or two. So in fact, the top 10 numbers came out on that third Friday, and then it was only 3 or 4 days before the full numbers were released. So I think they changed the embargo because they were so far behind, so they didn't embargo the numbers for as long. Just another example of Diamond's inconsistency and lean staffing that causes issues at times. I believe that it's vacation season, and the person who's in charge of pushing the button wasn't there. That'd be my guess, but they're not going to admit to anything like that, because that would say that they were at fault, and they'll probably say, "Oh, it was the plan all along." That a fifth week or something like that caused a bump. I don't believe it. I just think there's too lean, and stuff happens and falls through the cracks all the time, which is why we see inconsistencies in the numbers constantly. This month of May, the numbers for the month of May would have been topped, of course, by DC Nation's Zero issue, which sold about 1 million copies, but they were for a quarter, so they do not count those. Something interesting they did this year, they counted. They didn't count those issues into the aggregate of DC sales, but if you'll roll back to when the 25-cent Saga came out and sold 300,000, although they didn't chart it as a top seller, they did roll it into Image's sales numbers, and that of course had an impact on their sales aggregate. Whereas they decided not to do it for DC Nation Zero, and so there's 1,000,000 25-cent issues. You do the math, $250,000 worth of sales and 1 million units of sales that didn't get computed, although they did that with Saga. So I don't know. I don't understand their rhyme and reasoning. We've gone through this over and over and over again with inconsistencies. Used to count the loot crates, then they didn't. Used to asterisk all the returnable comics. Now they kind of do some. In Man of Steel being in the top 10, I'll get to that in a second. A lot of weird reporting things that can't be helpful for retailers, and I assume this still is the focus of what this chart is about, is to help retailers, and they seem to have just ignored that, and just kind of just at a whim change the way they do things. But we'll still report on the numbers when they get out, is however inconsistent they are and however useless they are. Especially when you get to the trades numbers, I find them pretty inconsequential. And the trade numbers are for the direct market are, I guess, indicative of sales interest, maybe, but in no ways are they reflective of the overall pie, because that's totally mass market, scholastic, library driven. I think the numbers dwarf anything that the direct market can even do. And I don't even know that it's really reflective of the market, because when we see mass market numbers from, that covers Barnes and Noble and Amazon and half price book sales and stuff like that, that are actually scanned through. We see a much different mix of titles, a much different, more reliance on different types of books, way less superhero heavy, and so I'm curious to see if we could, one of these days, if we ever can get a really nice, clear, transparent look at sales market for trades, or God forbid comics, just to see what's really selling out there and to who, and what's the breakdown. So that, I just don't feel like this. I think this is just this direct market stuff is indicative, especially this. I'm speaking specifically on the trade side. I do think it has a little more merit on the comic single side, of course, because that's where you get most of your comics. But it'd be nice to get a little bit more information. But let's hit those single issue comics where I do think this data is relevant. And topping the list is Amazing Spider-Man, and I did send Kyle a text on his vacation to get his guess on the numbers for Amazing 800, and he had 250K as his guess, and it is 411K, so far outseeding Amazing Spider-Man 700, so almost doubling. Not really. What is that? Maybe 80% increase. My math skills are weak this morning, so it is a really big number. 411,000 is a big number, and hats off to Slott for getting people excited with the Red Goblin stuff and putting a big number on the top. In any other month, the number 2 comic, Venom, the first issue of Venom by Donny Cates, would have been the top seller by far, and it did 225,000. So what Kyle thought Amazing did, Venom actually did. So that's a really good number. I mean, there were some 1 in 1,000s on both of these, I think. That always helps prop that stuff up. But still, good number. Way to sell through some comic singles. At 3 is Doomsday Clock 5, did 146. Avengers number 1 did 131,000. Not my favorite. Black Panther number 1 did 122,000. Another unnecessary reboot. Batman 47 101 566, and Batman 46 100,000. So there we go. Batman's back over 100,000 after a brief foray into the low 90s, and it's back. It's got people excited about the wedding, about those sweet covers that they're doing. So if you'll notice, we had a top 7 over 100,000, which is very healthy. Kyle also weighed in on his guess, and he guessed 4. So he kind of fooled us all with how strong this month was going to be. So very good job by the top of the list there. So to get 7 of the top 10 over 100,000, I think is pretty good. At 8 is Justice League No Justice. Number 1, 86,000. Number 9, Man of Steel. Number 1, 78,000, which I think is a little disappointing. It has been adjusted for returnability, and I think that normally is 15%, but excuse me, is usually 15%, but I think that number fluctuates, and depending on the whim of the Diamond folks. So, yeah, it still, I think, is a disappointing number because there was a lot of hype behind Bendis coming over. But coming off the Action 1000, I guess I can understand it. Rounding out the top 10 is Walking Dead 179. They did 73,000. A really solid number to keep in the top 10 after being down into rank 13 before the month before. To hop back up, I think, is pretty cool. I was trying to find, I think I've lost it, the actual breakdown, but I'm pretty sure it was, I glanced at it earlier, and I don't have it at my fingertips, but it was Marvel again leading, even though, no, I mean, those numbers make a lot of sense that, of course, Marvel would lead that. As I look at this top list, and I sort by publisher, and go down to some of the Aftershock number ones. Walk Through Hell, the first issue, it did about 10,800. It's a solid number. It's a good book. I really enjoyed it. Pestilence, Story of Satan, did not read that Aftershock book. I usually sample them all, and I missed that one somehow. 5,000 copies of that sold. Some second issues of note from them. Brothers Dracul, the second issue comes in at 3,500, and her Infernal Descent number 2 comes in at 2,800. Aftershock continues to pump out stuff, get it out on time. It's nice to see. Nice to see that happening. Archie, Vampironica was pretty good first issue. I really liked it. Its second issue still doing well at 11,600. It's Greg Smallwood book. I really like that. It doesn't look like there was an actual Archie proper issue in May sales, so it must have been at the end of April and beginning of June for that. So I didn't realize that it had been delayed for that long. Interesting. Avatar, my beloved Cross Plus 100 Mimic, finally launched with its first issue and only sold 3,600 copies. And, Cinema Purgatorio, from Avatar, is on its 14th issue. And sold 3,100. So, Cross coming back. I know it's not for everybody. I know it's a little hardcore, mature title, but I was hoping for over 5. So, 1,500 people out there that shied away that I thought would actually get it, and it could have been delays and people, the $6 price tag. There's tons of reasons why it didn't sell, but man, it's good. It came back with a vengeance. So, really good stuff. Black Mask, the third issue of Cal Exit, and might be the last one we get for a while, sold 4,700 copies. I think they announced the trade that was going to be made up of only 3 issues, so I got a feeling they're going to take their time getting to issue 4, since they took their time for every other issue in this. The second issue of Come Into Me, 2,600. The launch of We Are Danger, 2,500. Third issue of Wilds, which is a really good book, 2,100. Breathless, which is good. It's The second issue came out, and also Survival Fetish. The second issue came out, and it was really good too. And it's funny because Survival Fetish and the Wilds are both Black Mask, and they both are about runners in a post-apocalyptic setting. Wilds, it's more there's something wrong with the population that they're running, then they're getting infected, and so these runners have to go and get supplies from other towns that are non-infected and go through infected areas. Whereas Survival Fetish is more running in a cityscape, getting supplies from one place to the other, and you have snipers in the buildings shooting at you, and so society's kind of broken down. There's no law and order. But it's funny that they're both running. The idea of these runners transporting goods and through dangerous situations is the kind of the plot, and it's both from Black Mask, and they're both like an issue apart. I think that's kind of interesting, and they're both pretty good, which is also nice and doesn't happen all the time. Some of the boom numbers I want to touch on are some of the last issue of Abbott, which was Saladin Abed's book follow-up from the Great Black Boat that he did over at Marvel. His final issue was 3,000, and it was good. I didn't think the supernatural element to it worked, and without it, it could have been a really fun like crime story with the journalist finding the thwarting the crime. I thought that would have worked a lot better without that supernatural element. I think it got murky and muddy when that was introduced, and when that element that was the weakest part of it. I think the other parts were much stronger, but as a whole, it was pretty average by the time it was over. But I thought there's really some potential there to go in that direction and stay away from the supernatural stuff, but it just didn't fit, in my opinion. Sixth issue of Fence, 2400. I really enjoyed this at the beginning. It's kind of slowing down, getting through like one fencing match per issue, leading up to a tournament. So kind of see where this is going, and we're not getting very far. Similar to Dodge City, I got a dodgeball tournament that we're preparing for, and practicing, and just, learning the dynamics of everyone and everything. It's interesting. Oh, I finally found the share of overall dollars and sales units, and it was Marvel by a little bit. Marvel took it 38% over DC 37%, and really only tenths of percentage points that separated them. Not a full point, about half a point really. Image at its solid 10% always, and IDW got 3, and everybody else was below 2 or 1. So kind of the same thing we're used to seeing. When it comes to overall dollars, Marvel crushed. They had a lot of expensive books, and they sold a lot of them. So they took almost 43% of dollar share, and DC had 25%. Image creeped up a point. They had less and less $2.99 books, so they creeped up a point to 11%. IDW almost 4%. Dark Horse 2.5% when it comes to dollar share, and then Boom right under 2%, and everybody else below that. As far as shipping is concerned, Marvel shipped 100 items in the top 300 in May, compared to DC 76, Image is 47, and IDW is 21. Dark Horse 13, Dynamite 10, Boom 7, Valiant 7, Titan 4, Aftershock 3, in the top 300 anyway. Albatross 2, Archie 2, Oni 2, everybody else 1. There really wasn't that many everybody else is in there. So definitely a top-heavy book, or top-heavy month, as usual. Now let me zoom back over to the single issue sales numbers of note that I wanted to touch on. When we get to Dark Horse, Black Hammer, second issue, also returnable. 11,600, so it's been reduced by 15%, presumably. It's spin-off Dr. Star and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrow's third issue, almost 10,000 as well, and I'm not reading that. I blew that one. I was like, I don't want to read a spin-off, and then I heard it was great, so I have to catch up on that one. First issue of Blackwood, returnable, 8,700. Ether Copper Golems, 7,400. Its first issue, also returnable. World of Tanks, the Garth Ennis book, I really liked. Its first issue, 5,200 copies. Like that a lot. The penultimate issue of Harrow County, 31, sold 4,400. So its final issue, I think, is 32. I've been wrong before, but I think that's the case. So it'll end next month. The R.I.P., the late Anthony Bourdain's Hungry Ghosts books ends with issue 4, 4,300. It was really good. I was looking forward to seeing more of these. This was something that, since it was ghost stories, Japanese ghost stories, it probably could have gone on indefinitely with new volumes, and they were all really fun anthology ghost stories, and I really liked it, and all based around the idea of this chef game with candles and stuff. It was cool. I liked the concept. I liked the execution, and I doubt we get any more. Resident Alien second issue, only 1,961. This is such a good book, folks, and so you seem to have missed this volume, so that's kind of a bummer. Incognegro Renaissance, which is a book that I have on my stack. I haven't got a chance to read them yet. I have all 4 of them stacked up, and I haven't yet got a chance to crack those. But it still looks good. It's looks like a mystery caper, and I hope it's good because I've got a lot invested in it, and I haven't read any of them yet. As far as you kind of saw some of the top 10s from DC, I'm seeing if anything else of note pops out to me as I slide down these DC's sales numbers. I was White Knight finished. Batman White Knight finished with 73,000, very strong. The remaining Justice League No Justice all sold around 60, mid 60s. So finished okay, not too bad. Looks like we have reorder activity on Action Comics 1000 of 52,000. So that seems very anomalous. But I guess it's possible. That there was that much reorder activity on that book. Might have to check with somebody to confirm that. Let's see. We've got. Oh man, we're just rolling down here. We're in the 30s already. Wonder Woman is in the low 30s. I really think this should go to a monthly. I don't think it can support coming out twice a month. Hal Jordan's in the high 20s. Super Sons is at 27,000. So its 16th issue, and it might have been its last one. I'm not sure. Its 16th issue is going out with a whimper with 27,000. Nightwing 44 only sold 26,000. Hopefully that new creative team, I don't know if it's on yet with issue 44, but its 44th issue just didn't sell that well, and it needs an infusion of new interest somehow. So I don't know what that's going to do, but I got a feeling Kyle's bumming about the direction of that book. We'll touch base with him later. Not this episode, but next time when he ever comes back from vacation. My beloved Scooby-Doo Apocalypse is at 15,000 copies, all the way down at rank 147. So to each his own. It's not doing that well either. And Wildstorm, which is a book I'm really enjoying, at 151, 14,000. It's under 15,000, so not selling well. But maybe there's a different criteria for Wildstorm books. I think that's quite possible. That's about it for DC of note. We've got I think we're getting into reorder activity and some of the already previously announced canceled books. So nothing much there of note to mention. When we look at Dynamite, we do have, I don't know, nothing really jumping out at me. No, man, I'm trying. All this licensed property stuff kind of blends together, and I don't really read much of it. So, nothing really interesting there. Same with IDW. Very few books here that interest me at all, or at least are interesting sales-wise. Not seeing anything. We get to Image. After Walking Dead, Spawn actually outsold Saga. So Spawn 285 sold almost 38,000 copies, and Saga's 52 only sold 37.5. So it's been Walking Dead and Saga 1-2 for a long time. So that's interesting. All those Spawn covers, the Matina covers, the McFarlane sketches are really propping the sales up on this book. Part of it might be it's good. I don't read it much anymore. I try from time to time. It doesn't click with me, but sales wise, it's doing really well. But to have it lap Saga, I think is interesting. And right on the heels of Saga is Oblivion Song, which sold its third issue sold 36,000. So that's a strong number. 3 issues in, I think, and impressive. And it's possible Saga might continue to drop, as I believe people are just moving to trades on that. I don't know why. It's a great single issue read, or 52 issues is a lot of issues, and people are losing interest in the story. I don't think that's fair either, because it's really good. But we're a fickle readership and jump for a variety of reasons. So I don't know what to pin the waning interest on it, because it was solidly in the 50s not that long ago, and now we're in the mid 30s. So an interesting number. We get into a cluster of barrier sales. The first issue collector's edition, almost 30,000. And then 2 through 5, which were all returnable, in the mid 20s. So that all launched in 1 month, and those returnable numbers surprised me. I didn't realize that was the case. Pretty interesting that they would do it that way. First issue not returnable, the last 4 were. So that really, some of those numbers might be even higher. Gideon Falls, the Jeff Lemire book, its 3rd issue at 19,000. That's good. It's too bad we're losing Royal City, because he's focusing on Gideon Falls, because I don't think it's as good as Royal City, but still solid. Second to last issue of Kill or Be Killed, which was good. If you haven't read it yet, oh man, it's a really good issue, and it's sold almost 16,000. I think we have one more, and I don't even know what it's going to be about because of how 19 ended. Outcast continuing to plug along with 12,000. Another Kirkman book doing okay. Southern Bastards, when it comes out, is always great, but less and less people are reading it. We only have 12,000 of that. Last Siege launched with 11,008. Long in the Tooth, Wicked and Divine. That's one that I can definitely see people leaving in droves, myself included. Lazarus 28, which is one that people have left. It's only selling 9,000 issues a month now, and it's really good. But going quarterly, I don't think it's going to help it any. Sex Criminals 24, the same. A lot of delays. I don't know. It's really something that they focus on much, and it comes out in between when Zdarsky has time to draw it, I think. Anything else here of note? First issue of Flavor did 8,000. Manifest Destiny's 35th issue only sold 5,000 copies. Fourth issue of Beef, 3,000. Dry County, it is under 3,000 now. It's a book I enjoy. My Stray Bullets, both issues were under 3,000. Skyward's must be reorder activity on the second printing of Skyward did 1,800. I'm pretty sure it did better than that, and it was out earlier. Let's see, once we go, that's about it for Image. I'm trying to think anything else Marvel put out that's of note to me. Since I'm the only one here, it's all about me. The annual for X-Men Red did 38,000. I really like X-Men Red. And now that we've heard that X-Men Blue and Gold are canceled, X-Men Red is the only one standing now, so that's good, I guess. If it was some kind of reality show, which it isn't, but it should be. I'm going to copyright that before you guys steal the idea. Reality show, comic book dominance. I like it. Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. That's the Zdarsky book I mentioned earlier. It's 304th issue. 26,700. It's a little weak for Spidey's second, the second tier Spidey book. When we see the first tier, 500,000, pushing 500,000 copies. So we need to get some life into that one. It's a good book. I wish more people read it. I say that so often. There's Bendis' Last Spider-Man. It sold almost 25,000. Should have been more. It was a good one. Moon Knight, 195th issue, 22,000. Bummer. Nobody's reading this. Outside the top 100 even. That's about it that pops with me. Champions selling 17,000 and rank 136. I think that's it for them. Think anything in Titan that pops out. Oh, the second issue of Prisoner did 4,000. The first issue was really good. I haven't read the second issue yet, but the first issue was really good. I liked it a lot. That's about it. Looking at Zenoscope, nothing really stands out to me. Nothing in Valiant really of interest to me. Well, I guess that first issue of Valiant High, I might have pre-ordered that one. I haven't read it yet. 4,000 copies. That's pretty okay, and what they normally do. So the sales are the sales. We'll take a quick glance at the trades, which I went on a tirade about earlier for some reason. And no, unprovoked. No reason for that. But let's see, from sales units, it's Tag and Bink were here. Did 16,656. And Infinity Gauntlet did 9,497 to take the second spot. The benefit book for Where We Live, the Las Vegas benefit book for the shooting, did 5,000. Snot Girls second volume did 4,000. Dark Days: The Road to Metal did 4,000. A Wonder Woman volume did 2,900, so we've really dropped now. We're below 2,900. So basically one copy per store. Amazing Spider-Man Venom at rank 7 did 2,800. Rank 8, Hellboy Omnibus. That's volume 1, Seed of Destruction. I did 2,700. Black Magic's Volume 2 did 2,500, and Black Panther Volume did 2,500. So piddly sales as we leave the top 10. Not much to talk about. Not really not much at the top either. I guess that Star Wars is kind of solid, but it's really not a trade. It's an $8 book, which is less than a lot of the single issue comics that are on the charts, on the other charts. So that doesn't really count in my mind. That should probably be on the other. It's not. I guess it's pre-release material, so that's why they're doing that. We're ranking it that way, but the $8 price point is more of a oversized single issue comic. So really, it's Infinity Gauntlet. That's the first actual trade on the top of the list, and it didn't crack 10,000. So blah. There you go. I did get the FOC from Eric yesterday. So as we glance through that, it's my awkward transition from the numbers to the FOC. Nothing in. Who is this? I don't see the publisher. I'll have to guess. Love the dead air, right? So when we're looking at Dark Horse here, nothing. That Batman 51. This will be after the wedding. Definitely want to check that out. Make sure you're getting some of those. Don't sleep on Doomsday Clock, even though its release schedule is awful. It's still good. Let's see, anything else? Euthanauts. I think I missed out on that one. I think that must be a IDW book. When we're in looking at the image books on the FOC list, got some Ice Cream Man B covers that you can check out. It looks pretty good. What I'm most interested in here, besides, might be interested in the Versus Ribic. Esad Ribic black and white cover C. That sounds interesting. But there's a Weatherman number 2 cover C. That's a wrap cover, and it's a 20. It's a 1 in 25. I thought it was independently orderable. Bummer. I was interested in that, but I'm not at high price. I did enjoy the first issue of Weatherman, so I'm now adding issue 2 to my list. I'll probably get both covers, but not the third cover. Doggone it. As I look on Marvel, there's some cool Life of Captain Marvel launching with some various 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 100, 1 in 200, and then there's an Art Germ variant that's independently orderable. So that's probably one you want to hop on, definitely. There's a Staples variant, but it's $90. Ouch. Not ready to pull the trigger on that. So I glance down here. I'm not seeing a lot jumping out at me, but there's some good stuff in here. I definitely don't want to miss. I think I missed the boat on that Archie meets Batman 66 during the first solicit rounds. And I want that all red cover, and the price is right, so I'm going to get that one. I think that's all on the FOC that jumps out at me. There's a deluxe hardcover for Letter 44, complete collection of all 35 issues. That's awesome. Very reasonably priced. That'd be nice to have an oversized cover of that. It was a great book. One of Charles Soule's best, in my opinion. Mike Norton doing A Dead Life #1. Second issue of May, its second volume, is out. If people are unfamiliar with that, it's Gene Hahn. It's really, really good. That's all that kind of sticks out at me from the FOC. So those we for those of us who are on the list and cool enough, we get the FOC list on Thursdays. We have the weekend to review it, and then we place our order by Monday at noon to Eric over at Cowabunga Comics, and he can adjust our orders for us. So we get an extra crack at the previews catalog each and every week, more so than you regular suckers out there. But if you want to be on that list, you can give old Eric over at Cowabunga a call or an email. Or a Facebook message. It's Cowabunga with a K, Eric with a C, Eric at cowabungacomics.com, and let him know you want to be on the FOC list, and you want to get an extra crack at the previews catalog each and every week. It's fun to look at. He provides links to the new updated covers of some of the cover B's and C's and stuff that are released. So all in one place, based on release date, so it's nice and organized and separated by publisher. It's good stuff. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't order anything, it's cool to look at. Don't tell him I said that. He probably wants you to order stuff, but you can just be a looker if you want to. Let's head over for our sneak peek at next week. We've got June 27th. This stuff coming out on 27th of June. Let's start an Image. What's coming out this week, folks? We've got That Final Killer Be Killed. Must read for me. I'm excited about how that's going to end. Issue 53 of Saga. I think it's great and it's still rocking. So I'm all in. It's a great thing to read. It's great to read in single issues. We got the 25th issue of Sex Criminals with a Scotty Young XXX variant. They of course kicked the price up to $4.99 for the single issue and $5.69 for the variant. It's a thick book, but Lord, it's a lot. Of course, I'm going to be getting the Stray Bullets, and I'll probably be skipping Wicked and Divine. When we slide down to Dark Horse, we've got Bedtime Games #1. This is, who's doing this? Nick Keller, Connor Nolan, Kelly Fitzpatrick. Called Bedtime Games. 3 friends start senior year with a bang by exploring the mysterious past of their school. But before the night is over, their adventure turns into trouble when the kids set loose an evil that seeks to prey on their worst nightmares. So, a new horror comic, if you are so inclined. Second issue of Blackwood. Final issue of Harrow County. Colin Munn and Tyler Crooks 32-issue run comes to an end. With Emmy, with the help of Bernice and the Abandoned, takes on Hester Beck in a war of magic as the hit series comes to a final conclusion. Oh, that's too bad. It was fun. But 32 issues is a good run. We also have, from Dark Horse, we have Modern Fantasies issue 1 by Rafa Roberts and Kristen Gudsnick, about a young ranger woman who came to the city with the dreams of adventure. Her drug-dealing reptilian wizard roommate and her boisterous dwarf maiden BFF embark on a modern-day quest to save the world while struggling to keep their crappy day jobs and pay off their student loans. Yeah, this mashup is not for me. Might be for you. Didn't work for me. IDW, that's it from Dark Horse. IDW has nothing. DC has the final issue of Astro City. This has been a great book. This seems like very delayed to me. It's got a February order code, so yeah, kinda. And this is a 3-parter, so it's the final part of that 3-parter. And now Astro City ends as a monthly, quote unquote, and goes to a whenever the heck he feels like publishing a OGN. So we're thinking once a year, twice a year max. So that's where we can expect to get our Astro City fix from now on. So you might want to check in on this final issue. Only $3.99. I believe Brian Hill takes over Detective Comics with this week's issue 983. So I'm back on. I'm going to check this out, see how he handles Batman. I think it's going to be good. It's called On the Outside Part 1. And it's focusing on Duke Thomas and Cassandra Cain. We'll see what happens. I think Black Lightning's in it too. Fifth issue of Man of Steel, the Bendis series. The Biddy series. Still haven't read issue 1. Don't know if it's any good. Couldn't tell you. I will. We haven't yet. That's it for DC. Marvel. Third printing of 800. Don't think I can pay $9.99 for a third printing. Black Panthers goes back. Its first issue goes back to a second printing. Moon Knight 196, just for me. And who knows? Maybe there's something going on in it. You never know. The first issue of Sentry. Jeff Lemire's writing this with art by Aaron Kim Jacinto and a Brian Hinch cover. The Golden Guardian is back, fresh from the pages of Doctor Strange. So I've never been a Sentry fan, so couldn't tell you if it's going to be any good. The second issue of Thor relaunch. Third issue of Venom. That was Jason's pick, and I agree. It's a good one. This one, of course, features Donny Cates on writing and Ryan Stegman on art. Still recovering from his injuries, Eddie Brock, the wicked web-slinger known as Venom, has to defend NYC against the most powerful foe he's ever faced. The only thing standing in his way, Miles Morales. Though Eddie and the symbiote have no qualms with this particular web-slinger, the same can't be said for Miles' feelings about Venom. So good times. That's it from Marvel. We look in Dynamite. There's a new Charlie's Angels launching. Bunch of licensed properties. And I'm out. Boom Studios has a 4th issue of Dodge City. 51st issue of Lumberjanes. And a trade for Wild's End. I'm out. Nothing else there. Let's see. As we go into the back half, what's left of the back half, it's been kind of decimated since the Premier Publisher move. Brothers Are Cool 3. The 3rd issue of Cross Plus 100 Mimic with a ton of covers, each more deviant than the last. Final Street #1, written by Scott Schmidt and art by Brian Atkins. Looks like Street Fighter font. an over-the-top gender reversal comic book tribute to beat-em-up video games with girls instead of guys. Let's see, last song, number 2. This book was, the first issue was great. It came out like 6 months ago, it feels like. This is a December 17 area code. So, been out a lot, but it's just about the beginnings of a rock band. And I like the characters, I like the art, I like the story. It's well written. This will definitely get overlooked. It's a Black Mask book. But it's written by Holly Interlandi with art by Sally Cantorino. Really good stuff. I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. Shadow Roads from Oni Press, written by Colin Bunn, Brian Hurt. Art is by A.C. Zamudio and Carlos Zamudio. The world is thinnest at the crossroads, a mythical plane that serves as a doorway through the universe. Is here that a band of adventurers through the Wild West gather, brought together by Gord Cantrell with a singular purpose: to fight back against the creatures that would endanger the sanctity of all creation. Colin Bunn just cranks out the ideas. He and Lemire and Kent and Millar, man, they're very prolific. Man, that's it. And that is it. And we are done. And I need to give you a pick. Oh my. Well, we know Jason's pick was Venom, which I think is a pretty good one. Man, if I can't beat that. So we're sticking around for me to figure it out? My, oh my. I'm going to have to go with the Scotty Young XXX Sex Criminals variant. I'm curious to see what his art style, and that it's going to be polybagged. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Sex Criminals 25. It's an anniversary issue. They might do something crazy in it, and to have this Scotty Young's naughty version, be great to have him sign at cons too. So I think this would be sought after, and at that price point, I bet you a lot of people didn't pre-order it. So that's mine. Jason's. So we've got a couple of picks there for you. Hope something on here stuck out to you, and thank you for putting up with me through this solo issue. And we'll talk to you next week, hopefully fully staffed. I'm hoping Kyle will be back. So until next time. See ya.